this year. And that is saying a lot considering the kind of political world we've had. And so here's what happened. And they happened, I'm not sure exactly which happened first, because one was a video and one was a live event. But how I saw them was the video of Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning first. And then I started looking for what was happening with the Zoller Trump press conference, which I had been kind of looking for on and off all afternoon. So I saw the video for Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was 10 minutes long. Probably could have been shorter. It was a pretty long video, but here's my couple of thoughts initially. She resigned as of January 5th. A lot of people are pointing out that that's 2 days after she becomes fully vested in the retirement plan that you have in the United States House of Representatives, but they have an old style kind of pension plan now. So since she would have only been 5 years vested, it's about $9,000 a year she's going to be getting from this pension plan. It is no, golden parachute pension plan like it was before 1992. That's what a lot of people think about when they hear congressional pension. It's a certain percentage of your last year's salaries, 1% of your salary or something like that, times how many years you served. So that's $9,000 roughly for her a year, which she's a multimillionaire. $9,000 will pay for her to get her hair colored for a year. That's about it. So it's not about the money from the retirement, which is what a lot of people are trying to say. It could be about all the things she said it was about, that she realizes she has been part of something that is not that good, that she has used the kind of language she wishes she hadn't used, all of those kinds of things. And I have reached out to her a number of times in the last few months, have not heard back from her. She is now not going to do local radio and that kind of stuff. You're going to see her do national stuff. But here's my immediate thoughts on this. I don't like it when people leave their terms early, when it's not like a health reason, okay, or something like that. Now, Governor Deal got over it. He left his term early, ran for governor, got elected twice. He was able to offset the fact that he left his seat in the middle of the term, which in his case, if you recall, there was this ethics complaint that now wasn't followed up on because of the resignation. But he also resigned because he wanted to run full-time for governor. And I think that was the biggest reason that he resigned. And he ran full-time for governor. He was elected twice and did a fantastic job. So I think in his case, it isn't a problem. But in general, here's my theory about people that leave jobs early. A political job is not a job that you get forced to take. A political job is something you campaign for, you raise money for, you sign up to run, you beg people to vote for you, and you beg people to give you this job. You should finish it. You should finish it. It's one more year to finish it. So what's going to happen now is she's going to resign on January the 5th, which, good for her. It'll be 2 or 3 months before a special election. So for that 2 or 3 months, which will include one of these shutdown deadlines, there will be one less Republican vote and one less Republican, representation in Georgia. And then there will be a person that will be elected to fill out the term, and then we'll have to run again 6, 8, 9 months later, depending on when the special election is. So she's costing the state of Georgia a lot of money by doing this. And she asked for the job. She should have finished it. It's 10 more months. She could have coasted through the rest and just been there to vote. I don't agree with that, but that's okay. She's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She can do what she wants. I think that she is not done. I think that with 55% undecided in the governor's race, she might run for governor. But I still think she wants to do more than that. I don't think she's going to run for Senate because she clearly has disdain for the United States Senate and what she said. I think she's going to want to be in an executive position, whether that's governor or it's president. I don't know which one. That's what she's going to run for if she runs for anything else. The other thing that happened was this meeting with Zoran Mandami and President Trump, which totally went the way you wouldn't expect it to go. Trump was engaging. He was funny. He covered for him when he got asked about, well, do you still think President Trump is a fascist? And he said yes, and then started trying to explain. And Trump says, hey, don't try to explain. They'll never understand it, or something like that. You can just call me a fascist. I'm used to it. Now, he went on with the Sunday shows this weekend, doubling down on the fascist, despot, dictator, all that stuff, because I'm sure when he got back to New York, his little Democratic socialists went ape you-know-what on him because he was so nice in the Oval Office, and the president has just neutralized him. Now, there are some Republicans that are mad at the president for taking away their midterm person they can demonize. No, he's going to do plenty of stuff between now and the midterms that we're going to be able to continue to use him. But the president has now set it up that if New York fails, it's going to be because Zoran Mandami ran away from the federal government. And if New York City succeeds, President Trump is going to be able to take some of the credit. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant move by President Trump. Now, the kind of umbrella over all of this was the release of the Epstein files. And of course, you had Jasmine Crockett get on the floor of the House and talk about Jeffrey Epstein gave to all these people. Well, Sean Hannity on Saturday night or Friday night interviewed that Dr. Jeffrey Epstein that gave to Lee Zeldin, who may be suing Jasmine Crockett on all of this. But here's just a little, we won't play the whole thing, Logan, but here is the currently live Jeffrey Epstein, the doctor from New York, talking to Sean Hannity.
Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know at this point if I should feel sorry for you. I'm sure you're proud of your family name. How do you feel getting mixed up in that mess?
It's been a week of a disaster, if you might say. I was very happy with my name. I've had it longer than he has. Obviously, I'm still here and he's not. But to be implicated, or even the insinuation that I am the pedophile, it was really pretty awful what she did. And she clearly, when she did her word scramble backpedaling on CNN the other night, those were just blatant lies. It's ridiculous.
Would you take legal action against her?
I had considered it, but of course, with the law, you cannot, because the comments were made on in the Senate floor, so you can't sue based on the constitutional law.
What about what she said on CNN? We're given a chance to get it right.
She certainly didn't get it right. If anything, she lied even further, because she never once said Jeffrey Epstein. She said Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly, she implied that Lee Zeldin, amongst others, had taken money from the pedophile. But let the record show that if you look in the filings, you also see that Jasmine Crockett took money from Jeffrey Epstein.
So I thought this was very interesting. I mean, this guy, there's an Andy Warhol statement about 15 minutes of fame, and this is probably not the kind of fame that he would have wanted, but it was an interesting end of the week, policy-wise and politically wise. Just to wrap up, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, she should have finished out her term. I don't like it when people quit, especially in a political job where you asked for the job. No one made you take it. You campaigned for it. You raised money for it. You begged people to vote for you. And you shouldn't quit before your term is over unless you're dying, because it's only a few more months. And if you have a good team, all you got to do is show up for votes. So I don't like that she quit, but I think she's going to be fine. I don't think she did it for the pension money. I don't think she did it for any other reason. Then maybe she's just over it. Now, there's another reason. If the death threats have increased because of what the president said, then maybe she just didn't want to deal with that. Her daughter just recently got married. Maybe her family's just done with it. So we'll see what happens with all of this. Now, I want to say before we get out of this segment, thank you to everybody that came by for the Jingle Mingle this past Saturday afternoon. I had such a good time talking to you listeners, and thank you so much for those of you that came by and said they listened to the show because they like to hear positive and balanced news. And I appreciate that because sometimes I feel like I get a little too negative. But several people said that compared to other people, I didn't. And also that they feel like they get a different balance of topics here. And that's what I want. So thank you to everyone that came by. We got a little crazy with the popcorn. We had a popcorn machine. And, people started to get hungry in the free food thing. I don't know if you ever watched Friends, Logan, when Monica made holiday candy for the people in the building, and then they started getting more and more panicked about it because they wanted the candy.
Right.
Okay, so it was getting like that where sweet Cameron that was making the popcorn, we had an assembly line. Caleb was handing the bags. Cameron was filling the bags. I was folding the bags over and putting them into the little container. And we were getting to a point where we couldn't keep up with it.
Wait, but you run like a well-oiled machine. You didn't have much practice.
That's right. And so we finally had to say to the line of people that was lined up, hey, we're going to have to take a little break, and we'll be back out here in a few more minutes because this was only about an hour and a half into the 4-hour thing.
Right.
And we didn't want to run out before we were done, so we spaced it a little bit. But we had great giveaways. We signed up a lot of future reporters with the kids that were here. We were very excited about that. And thank you for coming by. I think I'm going to be in the Christmas spirit this year. It's still a little early, but we'll keep talking about it. We'll be back.
Todd Starnes.
But if you want to talk about problems, talk about Joe Biden, who literally funded Iran's nuclear program.
It's the Todd Starnes Show, weekdays noon till 3 on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's nothing quite like a local neighbor. That's why AARP is local, right here in Midtown Atlanta, to offer you free events and enriching experiences that help you with finances, family, and fun. We're in the community, connecting you to what matters most right when you need it. Visit our website at aarp.org/GA or visit us on social media at AARP Georgia to find out more information on how we're helping your money, health, and happiness live as long as you do.
At Jackson EMC, innovation is an ongoing cycle, a process without a beginning or an end, where one idea leads to the next. Solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes, automated switch technology. What we do as an industry is vital. We keep communities powered, so we must always have an eye on the future. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen in a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Bad breath is a confidence killer. You can have the best outfit, the sharpest resume, the funniest jokes, but if your breath smells like the food you just ate, that's all people remember. It's not your fault. Bad breath often comes from your gut, and most regular gums and mints just cover it up. That's like spraying perfume on dirty laundry. It doesn't solve the problem. That's where Zellman's Minty Mouth comes in. Zellman's is not just another mint. Zellman's tiny dual-action capsules are coated with powerful, delicious mint and filled with parsley seed oil, clinically tested to fight the toughest offenders. Garlic, onions, coffee, even smoker's breath, all handled. With Zellman's, you get the confidence of fresh, clean breath that lasts for hours, because your breath should be as fresh as your food. Zellman's is only available online, so go to Zellmans.com, that's ZELMINS.com, and use code FRESH for 15% off your first order. That's ZELMINS.com with code FRESH for 15% off your first order today. Backed by a 100% love it or your money back guarantee.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a pair of Georgia-based community banking institutions are announcing their plans to merge this year. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I hope promise. I hope so, because I guarantee whoever they put up, they're going to just make me look, the reasonable guy that's going to work with both sides together and find a way for Pennsylvania. And now it's an absolute lie. Voting to keep our government open, that was a vote to make sure that 42 million Americans get their SNAP. And now we're going to pay all these people like the military and the Capitol Police and all of those folks now too. So now if they want to primary me, so it's like, but my point, it's like I've been on the side of common sense, and I've always going to put our country for party. And I think most people now realize that shutting our government down was wrong.
So that's John Fetterman. There's been some threats that they're going to primary him, and he was like, ooh, bring it on. I would love to be couched as the reasonable person who puts country before party. When we look back at this time that we're in, weirdly enough, it could be John Fetterman and Marjorie Taylor Greene that put us back on a path of talking to each other in a reasonable way. I think that's going to be interesting. I still don't like the fact she's quitting before her term's over. If she was trying to avoid a messy primary, all she had to do was say she wasn't seeking re-election and then just go out into the sunset at the end of this year without being in the political fray. It would have been incredibly freeing to be able to be on the House floor. You're not running for re-election, and you can say whatever you want. Not that she didn't say whatever she wanted any time, but it'll be interesting to follow. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. It is the Martha Zoller Show, and it is a great day to be an American. Let's go to Chad in Oakwood. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Good.
I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and everybody stick together because we need each other. We're full-blooded Americans. We need each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I just want to know where I just paid my property taxes, and I'd like to know where all the money's going to. They need to take some of that money and open up a homeless shelter in Hall County, call it 3 Stripes, and the people only get 3 stripes to straighten their life up, or they're back on the streets more.
Well, you know what, Chad, on that point, now on that point, Chad, I think you'll be very happy that there are, they have come together and they've expanded the homeless shelter facilities dramatically in the last few weeks. They announced that a couple of weeks ago. We had Doug Hansen on to talk about it. So there's been some good work being done here. And you know what, Chad, I was thinking about this when I was in church yesterday, because the way to solve these problems is locally. The way to there's some help you need from the federal government, but really the money goes up to them and comes back to us, and then it's been spent. It would be so much better if churches and communities and people got together to solve these problems, because then we could do it.
I am.
Okay, thanks for your call today. Because I hear what he's saying about that. I mean, I want to know too. I'm a self-employed person, so I pay quarterly taxes, and I write a pretty big check every quarter to pay my taxes. And I've been really blessed, not only in this country, but in my family life, in my marriage. And, I'm a lucky person. Is everything perfect in my life? No, it's not. Nobody's is. But I have faith, and that's what brings me through. And I really think that as we go into this holiday season, what I think all of us need to reflect on is, where are we in our faith journey? Are we, and again, I want to set aside, because I know a lot of really good Muslim people. I don't understand the Muslim faith. And I think it's because I have been colored by a lot of the radical Islamic behavior that I have seen. And so I want to set that aside for a moment. I'm not saying it's not legitimate or anything like that. But I think in general, when you think about it, I remember Phil DeMoore saying to me, he was my pastor many years ago at Gainesville First, when I was frustrated about, trying to talk to friends about their Christian faith and things they would come back in. They could give you a laundry list of all the bad things that Christian people have done. Starting with the Crusades, they always bring up the Crusades, but even Westboro Baptist Church or whatever. And I think that what he said is that first of all, we call out those things and we recognize that they're bad. But secondly, if you close your eyes and you imagine a world without Christianity in it, it would be a very dark place. And so what people are trying to do with these protests around the country, where basically they're trying to get rid of people of faith, whether they're Jews or Christians or good Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, whoever they are. They're trying to get rid of good people with faith because they know the world will be a darker place without them.
Christmas is a season of giving. This is Mike Cormier, General Manager of Hardy Chevrolet. I know that giving is a challenge this year. That is why it's more important than ever. Hardy Chevrolet is a drop-off location for the Marine Corps Reserve's Toys for Tots program. Please come by and drop off a new unwrapped toy. With the help of local community agencies and churches, Marines will distribute them to needy children throughout our area. Help make this a Merry Christmas for all. And I'd like to extend best wishes of the season from all of us at Hardy Chevrolet, Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville.
Magical Nights of Lights has returned to Lanier Islands Resort. The spirit of the holidays shines brighter than ever as you drive through 6 miles of twinkling displays where toy soldiers march, Santa tailgates in style, and pickleball elves play. Visit holiday headquarters inside Game Change featuring Clark's Pop-Up Bar, or licensed to chill Snow Island with ice skating and snow tubing. The lights are glowing, the magic is calling. Your holiday tradition begins at Magical Nights of Lights at Lanier Islands Resort. Visit LanierIslands.com for reservations.
Checking in with Haley from Clipper, and I understand, Haley, you folks have really gone to the dogs, and that's a good thing.
It is. We take our fur babies with us when we travel, and they got to have a place to go to the restroom, too. So Barkley Park was formed, and you can find Barkley Park in Clayton, Flowery Branch, and in Rabbittown.
And you know what? That's also influenced the beverage station, right? Bark and Bean Brews.
Oh, yeah. We had to bring the dogs into the coffee world, too.
Check it out, folks. Never fly solo. Take your dog with you and head to Clipper.
Want the latest rumor? Check social media.
Social media plays a big role in today's society.
Want to know if it's true? Log on to accesswdun.com. We focus on the facts and leave the fiction to the others.
It's trustworthy and reliable.
Online news powered by North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. President Trump posting, "Don't believe it till you see it, but something good just may be happening." After Geneva weekend talks on ending Russia's war on Ukraine, Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
I think this is a very, very meaningful, I would say probably best meeting and day we've had so far in this entire process, going back to when we first came into office in January. But there's still some work left to do.
Even with hard terms on Ukraine, President Zelensky posting, "Thank you, America." Its ambassador praising U.S. leadership for finally forcing Russia to at least put something on paper. The FAA and Transportation Secretary Duffy hold an airport holiday travel briefing, and AAA advises worst times to drive Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. The ShamWow guy running for Congress, a Texas Republican. Pitchman offer Vince Shlomo says he wants to be a woke buster and make America happy. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
WDUN. From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. As the search for a Gainesville native who went missing on Blood Mountain nearly 2 weeks ago continues, search teams are modifying their methods. More from WDUN's Caleb Hutchins.
The Union County Sheriff's Office says ground search teams have been scaled back in favor of specialized canine teams to track clues. 67-year-old Charles Hush was last seen hiking the Byron Herbert Reese Trail on November 11th. His daughter, Julia Hush, added Saturday morning that law enforcement's efforts were being briefly paused by by expected rain in the area. Volunteer search teams were still working to find her father.
A pair of Georgia-based community banking institutions announcing plans to merge as Elberton-based Pinnacle Bank and officials with Dublin-based Morris Bank announced a strategic combination of both corporations on Thursday. The combined company would have $3.8 billion in assets, $3.3 billion in deposits, and $2.8 billion in loans, which it merges and operates a combined 35 branches that include Pinnacle's current locations in Gainesville, Athens, and Augusta. And today marks the final day for dropping off donations at the Gainesville's Lakewood Baptist Church as they continue the Samaritan's Purse Foundation's annual Operation Christmas Child program. The donations can be made between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the 2235 Thompson Bridge Road location. Information and links on how to donate, shoebox of items, and more news found at Access WDUN. Now, here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Partly cloudy skies this morning. More mostly cloudy into the afternoon. Upper 60s for highs. Considerable cloud cover with on and off rain showers later tonight, mid-50s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Winder and in Commerce, 56 degrees. In Gainesville, 55. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It's Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. As our name suggests, we can handle all your tire needs, but some have asked what we mean when we say and more. At Oakwood Tire, we're more than just tires. We also handle general repair. We handle alignments, brakes, AC service, suspension work. Speaking of suspension work, if you're looking to upgrade your ride, we can put tires, wheels, lift kit, anything like that on there. See us at www.oakwoodtire.com. Stop by at 3120 Atlanta Highway, where we're more than just tires.
In our community, nearly 65,000 neighbors, including 11,000 children, struggle with food insecurity. At the Georgia Mountain Food Bank, the people we serve are the forefront of all we do. Despite rising food prices and increased demand, we continue to make an impact across our 5-county service area. Last year, the Georgia Mountain Food Bank distributed more than 9 million meals, and we couldn't do it without you. Your kindness and generosity are making an impact to help feed individuals in our community. Learn more about how you can help at gmfb.org.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
And you have an open invitation, right? You have an open invitation to go back to the White House.
No.
Are you sure?
I mean, it depends on the week. I mean, you know, he still yells at me.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't.
He yells at everybody.
I know, but
he's never called you piggy, because I know he wouldn't call you piggy.
No, he's called me. Are you kidding? I have a list of 56 insults that he has called me over the years. I brought it to the White House, and he signed it.
Yeah.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That was a very funny moment this weekend on Bill Maher. And he also is going to be interviewing Laura Trump in his podcast, Club Random. So, and he says this all the time, that conservatives are willing to come on the shows. It's the Democrats that he has the hard time with. So it should be really, really interesting. Okay, so right now we are talking with John Hartley from the Hoover Institute. He is an economist and a policy fellow. And John, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Martha. Honored to be here.
So, you know, we're in a tough place right now, I think, those of us that are conservatives and are Republicans and have supported President Trump, because the economy is not turning around quite as fast as I think a lot of people hoped it would. I know I've heard a lot of people on our team say, you know, it seems like the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. It's harder for my kids to get onto the property ladder. Interest rates are still high. I think the key is wages more because, you know, prices aren't going to go down unless we have some kind of major collapse. They're not going to go, they might not increase as much, but you're not going to have them go down unless we have some kind of major collapse, and nobody wants that. So am I overreacting to what I'm hearing, or are there real concerns out there about where the economy is right now?
Well, I think if you look across America, there's very much a divide, I think, between blue states and red states. You go to blue states, it may be the case that wages are higher there, but costs are so prohibitively high, from housing to healthcare to taxes, that what's going on in half of America, in blue state America, is that costs are so high that they're higher than people's wages, so much so that people are leaving and people are going to red states. So I think at some level, if you sort of look across the country at the red state versus blue state model, states like Texas, Florida, and others are beating the Californias and the New Yorks. And you're seeing this just from patterns of people who are leaving blue states, pursuing more opportunities in red states. So I mean, if you look across the country at an aggregate or national level, we've seen this year actually some of the best GDP numbers that we've seen in decades. We've got real GDP numbers of 3.8% for the second quarter of 2025. It's the first full quarter that President Trump was in office. And if you go by the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now numbers, they're forecasting a 4.2% real GDP increase for the third quarter. So we're living in this AI CapEx boom right now that I think some people may not be fully appreciating quite yet. But at some level, this is not just a tech story. This is a story about infrastructure investing. There's new data centers being built across states all across America that's providing jobs. You've got there's an energy story that's across multiple sectors of the energy ecosystem, and that's across the country as well. So I think if you look at inflation, comparing where inflation is at right now, it's 3% compared to the height of where it was in the Biden administration at 8%. Prices are far lower today. So I do think that there's a lot of Democratic messaging out there that's, I think, trying to smear the president's record or just this whole boom period that we're currently in. I think prices will keep falling and hopefully will continue to fall. You have to remember, it's the Jay Powell Federal Reserve that was too slow to raise interest rates in part in 2022. They were touting team transitory for a period of time, and we're only at 3% now. The president's going to appoint a new chairman of the Fed sometime by May of next year, and that person, I think, whoever it will be, I think will be more equipped to deal with price surges should we see them again in the future like we saw after COVID. So I think we're actually on a very good trajectory if you compare to the Biden administration. Then if you look at red states versus blue states, there's increasingly more opportunity that's cropping up in the red states, and I think you're seeing that despite people who are voting with their feet.
Yeah, I think, I think that's right. I think the biggest challenge, too, is that I saw a report recently that the average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, which, of course, was very different than my experience. I'm 66 years old. I'm a young baby boomer, so I've been on the property ladder since I was 22. And my first house had 13.5% interest rate, okay? So, I mean, we've been through difficult times like this before, so I think that's the biggest challenge as we go into this midterm election, is that we've got to really figure out how to message this economy in a way that we're not saying to people like the Democrats did last year, quite frankly, oh, no, you're wrong, the economy's great. And I think that what we have to do is really communicate better what we're doing.
Absolutely. And if you look at the president's One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed in July, there are a lot of pro-growth provisions in there that give full permanent expensing to R&D equipment. I think capital expenditures, property, plant, and equipment. Property now or structures are getting full expensing for the first time ever. And so these things are critical when it comes to promoting investment in jobs and hiring and wages. So one, there's that, and we're only just starting to see some of the effects of that, and we're seeing that not just in say the tech sector, but across industries. So that's just starting to come online now, and will continue to come online in the years to come. And I think the point that you mentioned about home ownership and really just the cost of housing is so critical. If you look at the most expensive housing markets in America, these are all largely in blue states. These are the New Yorks, the Los Angeleses, the San Franciscos, the Washington D.C.s, the Philadelphias, and as well as the Chicago. So why is this the case? It's the case because you have these onerous land use regulations that largely are older boomer Democratic voters who don't want to vote for new housing supply, and because of that, housing is getting extraordinarily expensive in those places. If you look to red states, look to Houston. Houston doesn't have any zoning laws essentially, and they have some of the cheapest housing across America going across metros. So I don't think it's a surprise why people would want to. Certainly, young people, they want they want cheap, affordable housing, and red states have stepped up and are giving it to them. And so I think that's partly why you're seeing more opportunity in these places, why you're seeing people move to these places, while the blue states continue to be extremely expensive and only affordable to older, wealthier individuals and households. So I think blue states have a ton of work to do, and hopefully some of those blue states can become red states in the future. But I think if you look across between the parties, the economic policy platforms, I think the distinction is clear that it's the GOP that's offering economic growth and affordability when it comes to housing, when it comes to all these things that we've seen enormous increases in the cost of living, particularly in blue states in the past decade.
Well, I look forward to those things getting better. And I tell you, it's funny. I don't know how much you follow college football, but I'm a huge SEC football fan. And we just had some new data that came out saying how not only are people moving to red states, from blue states to red states, they're going from colleges in blue states to colleges in red states. The application rates are way up, and the number of students from the Northeast going to colleges in the Southeastern Conference is up about 93%. And, so this movement to the Sun Belt or the SEC or whatever you want to call it is going to continue, because if you go to college somewhere, a lot of times you have an affinity for that place and you end up staying somewhere close to where you went to college. And I think we're going to see, it's funny, Andrew Young, who was the ambassador, he also worked in the Carter administration. He was the mayor of Atlanta. He was on my show a number of years ago, and he said, desegregation and air conditioning will make the South rise again. Okay. And it was funny. It wasn't just that. It's better economies. We have better economies in the Southeast and in the South and the Southwest, and people are drawn to that.
Absolutely, and he's totally right that if you look at the stretch of history, air conditioning has been a huge enabler across the world for workers to be able to move to warmer climates. I mean, this is something that I think is true in places like Singapore, and true in places like Indonesia. It's totally true, especially for the South. I mean, the South, I think, if we go back, 100 years, was not necessarily, I think, seen as a place of, burgeoning industry, but apart from sort of maybe agricultural, textiles and so forth. But there's no question that today, I mean, we've got some of the biggest booming businesses that are moving there. That obviously from a taxation standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint, you can't get much. You can't really get any better in the United States than in places like Texas and Florida. And I'm totally with you on schools in the SEC. I mean, and in the South, across the country, outside the coast, that these schools are offering students community, and not just some sort of maybe a coastal elitist kind of network, which is maybe why other people go there. But you get community, you get a network that provides amazing opportunities and lifelong friendships. I think for young people especially, who are looking for purpose out there and looking for meaning in their lives, which I think is maybe part of this whole crisis that the young people are facing today. I think that they're looking at these schools and seeing that they're offering them more of that than perhaps some of those other schools were. So I'm with you there, and I think it's been an amazing weekend between schools like Notre Dame. I think put up 70 points, which is unbelievable. It's almost like a basketball score. I'm also a Cowboys fan, so the Cowboys comeback last night was pretty unbelievable. Even though I Cowboys have a lot of room to go. I mean, beating the Eagles is great, but it was a historic comeback. But I think they've got a lot more work to do if they want to be taken seriously in the NFL.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Anyway, John Hartley, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Martha.
Thank you. We'll be back.
When it comes to where you get your news, what's important to you?
I want to hear news that doesn't take sides.
I want to hear clear reporting that's easy to understand.
Always here with the news you need. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Now a message from your Hall County Tax Commissioner, Darla Eden.
Your 2025 property tax statement is here. It was mailed on November 20th and is due January 23rd. We've made it simple to pay, anytime, anywhere. Just go to hallcountytax.org to view your bill, check your balance, and make a secure payment. And don't forget to check out our new easier-to-read bill format designed with you in mind.
Service, efficiency, accountability. Your Hall County Tax Commissioner.
Hi, I'm John Shackelford, Executive Director of Eagle Ranch. For families in the middle of a struggle, knowing what is needed and where to go for help can be hard. To support these families, we created First Step Counseling. This new program allows families looking for help to meet with an Eagle Ranch counselor to share their story and make a plan for healing and renewal before starting therapy. Counselors are standing by and ready to meet with you and your family in person within a few days, so no long wait list. And like all Eagle Ranch services, no one is turned away because of financial constraints. Schedule a call with our First Step team today by going to eagleranch.org.
Good food and good folks make a good meal. You bring the folks and we'll take care of the food. This is Grant Nichols. At Loretta's Country Kitchen, we use only top quality ingredients like our new Springer Mountain chicken tenders. They're bigger than other tenders and are locally raised, so they're always fresh. Speaking of fresh, we have an entire walk-in cooler dedicated just to fresh produce. That's why we say at Loretta's, it's all good. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's Loretta's Country Kitchen, Mundy Mill Road in Oakwood.
Hello, Gainesville. This is Terrell with the Spa on Green Street. The holidays are quickly approaching, and we are ready for you to come in and shop in our boutique at the Spa on Green Street. We've even put together some special baskets that you can just pick up and go. So don't forget about the Spa on Green Street for your holiday needs. Who in the world at this place and time doesn't need to melt the stress away? So come see us at the spa or order your gift cards online at spaongreenstreet.com.
This Christmas season, give a gift of Georgia-grown goodness from Farmers Exchange. We've got fresh-grown, raw, shell peanuts, local pecans, flavored pepper jellies, handmade candies, and so many other delicious Southern favorites. Perfect for family, friends, and holiday gatherings. Looking for a unique gift? Let our team assemble a custom gift basket filled with your favorite Georgia-made treats. It's thoughtful, local, and a farm-fresh way to spread Christmas cheer. Shop local, share Georgia. Visit Farmers Exchange in Cleveland, where hometown holiday traditions begin.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, final day for the Operation Christmas Child donations being made at Gainesville's Lakewood Baptist Church. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Trump played chess. Today was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I am in the city council. I work with DSA council members, and I will tell you this. This guy's got a lot of answering to do when he comes back to New York, because he's got the DSA Linda Saussure types that are going to hold his hands over the fire for taking a meeting with Trump, let alone come out of it buddy-buddy. I think Trump was brilliant. I think Mondani actually... we need the president, cannot move forward without, federal dollars. So he knows he's between a rock and a hard place. And this has always been the question about Zoller. How is he going to navigate this? How's he going to appease the DSA? Because that's who he is clearly. And they stand behind him 100%. He's going to have a hard time explaining this to them. Now, to the point of taking up with Trump, it was brilliant. It was necessary. It had to be done. I come from a district and I come from a city that they are terrified of what this young man is going to bring to the city of New York as far as his anti-Semitism, and his socialistic ways. He's made no bones about it. I think what Trump is going to do, we didn't see this behind closed doors, but I think Trump laid it out really, really square because that's what Trump does. And
Victor, I want to get to Victor. Victor, Mamdani was pressed on something pretty basic during his...
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and look, so there's two huge stories that happened Friday afternoon. And then we had Jingle Mingle, which was great, seeing everybody here on the square, and just loved seeing all the people there and Santa and all the good stuff. It's a little early for me, but I am a little more in the Christmas spirit than I was last year. So we're making progress. But anyway, we've got this whole couple things that happened at the end of the day yesterday. At the end of the day Friday. We had Marjorie Taylor Greene with her announcement she wasn't running for re-election and she's resigning. See, that's the issue I have with that. And I'd love to know what you all think about that at 770-535-2911. She could have just said she wasn't running for re-election and she would have avoided the primary. She said she was trying to avoid a nasty primary. You avoid the primary by not running, if that's what your goal is. But there's something else, and I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't end up being a co-host on The View. Okay? I just folks, she's going to go broadcast, and if she's going to go the only way you get to go broadcast is if you bash President Trump. So we'll see if that happens. The other thing was the Zoller meeting, and I'm feeling nice about him, so I'm calling him by his first name. It's almost like that's a comic book name, Zoran Mamdani. So we'll see what happens there. But the president neutralized him. So he has put it in a perfect situation because on the one hand, if New York goes to where, then he can say, hey, I tried with the guy, but he wouldn't listen. And then if he does well, he can take credit saying I helped. So it should be very interesting to watch. Now, on the way out to Palm Beach for the weekend, President Trump was asked if he, quote, forgave Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here's what he had to say.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene?
Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, just stupid person named Massey. And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
So I don't know if she would have survived a primary or not. I kind of disagree with the president. Neither one of them have to find out now because she says she's not running. She could change her mind. She could change her mind because now she can say she would have won, but it would have been a hard primary. He can say she would have lost because it would have been a Trump-backed candidate. But who would have been the Trump-backed candidate? If it had been Colton Moore, which is the most likely of the most well-known people, he wouldn't have beaten Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But again, and I know I've said this like 3 times, if she didn't want a messy primary, just say you're leaving at the end of the term and don't abandon your constituents for a job you asked for. And I know there's people that disagree with me about this. I know there's some America First people out there and some other folks that are out there that are looking at things, and saying, she should be able to do whatever she wants and she's a purist and all this kind of stuff. And yes, President Trump owes her a lot. That when he couldn't travel because of being in those court battles every single day, she traveled for him. She campaigned all over the country for him. And next to Donald Trump, she was the most popular person at those rallies. There's no doubt about that. People liked her, but they liked, can we say the old Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't know yet because I don't know how long it's going to last. This could be a blip. I don't know. The nice Marjorie Taylor Greene. But she did realize that she has been contributing to this kind of division, and that will sell very well on The View, on Good Morning America, on the Today Show, on all of these kind of legacy shows. Hey, don't forget CBS morning news or Sunday morning on CBS. You got Barry Weiss over there that's shaking everything up, that is looking for different voices in broadcast. And you know what? Even with all the progress and all the money that's been made in independent media, whether it's Megyn Kelly or Tucker Carlson or crazy Candace Owens or Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, any of that kind of stuff, still in the back of people's minds, they want to make it on broadcast television because anybody can get that. It's still in the mind of a lot of these people that say, you know, they don't care about broadcast media. They still kind of want to make it. I think the only person that didn't want to make it was Rush Limbaugh because he didn't really care. I saw this great debate over the weekend that popped up between Al Gore and Rush Limbaugh over climate change. It was really fantastic. It was a walk down memory lane, man. They were both young. They were both idealistic. And Rush Limbaugh just mopped the floor with him. We'll be back.
What if I need to go into a nursing home? Will I lose my home? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and I'm here to give you some good news. The short answer is no. You will not lose your home if you need to transition to a nursing home. But there's steps that you need to take. I've made it my mission in life to help folks in your situation. But you need to make the first call. Visit my website at kevintharp.com and learn how to get help planning for the rest of your life.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It all comes down to this, folks. Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
Diplomacy has been reinvigorated. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky also says that's a good thing. After Secretary of State Marco Rubio left a round of talks in Geneva, pushing a U.S. plan to end Russia's war hopeful.
You have yet to see the actual details of this plan, but there appears to be a shift in tone. President Trump saying on Truth Social, is it really possible that big progress is being made in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine? Don't believe it until you see it, but something good just may be happening.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera at the White House. Rubio says,
I feel very optimistic that we can get something done here because we made a tremendous amount of progress.
Now, we just found out that President Trump held a call today with China's leader Xi Jinping amid ongoing attempts to work out a trade deal after months of negotiations and some very high Trump tariffs imposed on Chinese imports as leverage. Now, the president signed off on a deal for a group of investors to acquire TikTok to keep the social media app operational in the U.S., but a Senate Democrat now wants more information.
Ed Markey in a letter says it's unclear whether the announced agreement satisfies security concerns, and a law passed last year banning the video sharing app unless its Chinese owner, ByteDance, sells. The order says the investment group would license, operate, and retrain TikTok's algorithm, but not own it. Senator Markey wants to know, for example, if that retraining would have to be renewed if ByteDance makes changes.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. Today, the U.S. will designate a Venezuelan cartel led by Nicolas Maduro a foreign terrorist organization as the president considers military strikes in addition to the operation off the coast that's blown up More than 20 boats suspected of illegal drug trafficking.
Should President Trump order strikes against the Maduro regime, there's plenty of firepower in the Caribbean to do it, with about 30% of all deployed American warships, including the aircraft carrier Gerald R. Ford, now on station. There are over 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles in theater aboard destroyers and U.S. Marines aboard the USS Iwo Jima and other amphibs in the Ready Group.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Trinidad and Tobago. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. An Alto man taken into custody Thursday after authorities in White County found more than 30 grams of meth in his possession, as WDUN's Brian Perkle reports.
According to the White County Sheriff's Office, deputies encountered 37-year-old Jonathan Luke Norton while serving an arrest warrant related to a probation violation. During their investigation, officers reportedly discovered 34 grams of meth on Norton.
A pair of Georgia-based community banking institutions announced plans to merge together. Elberton-based Pinnacle Bank and officers with Dublin-based Morris Bank announced a strategy on Thursday for a combination of both corporations. Based upon each company's financial conditions from the end of September, the combined company would have $3.8 billion in assets, $3.3 billion in deposits, and $2.8 billion in loans when it merges to operate a combined 35 branches across Georgia, including Pinnacle's current locations in Gainesville, Athens, and Augusta. Today marks the final day for donation drop-off at a Gainesville church that's hosting the region's Operation Christmas Child campaign. More from WDUN's Logan Landers.
Gainesville's Lakewood Baptist Church is helping with this by hosting the final day for the Samaritan's Purse Foundation's annual Operation Christmas Child program between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. today. Lakewood Baptist Church is located at 2235 Thompson Bridge Road and serves as a regional collection center, gathering thousands of shoeboxes of children's gifts to be shipped around the world. Information and links on how to donate a shoebox of items for Operation Christmas Child can be found at Access WDUN.
And the Georgia Department of Education's recent change in degrees for nursing is raising the alarm for the future of the field. GNN's Rosia Rivera explains.
We need professional nurses on the front line caring for individuals.
That's Lisa Muirhead, Senior Associate Dean at Emory University, telling Atlanta News First how nursing will suffer since the DOE is now failing to designate it as a professional degree.
Students will have to reach out and secure private loans, which may have higher interest rates.
But it's not just degrees that will get expensive. Muirhead says we will all be affected.
The wait times to access emergency services, delays in clinic appointment times, access to maternal health, behavioral health.
More news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
A terrific Monday morning to you, North Georgia. Partly cloudy skies this morning, more mostly cloudy into the afternoon. Upper 60s for highs, at least we're seeing some sunshine. Considerable cloud cover with on and off rain showers later tonight, mid-50s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Cornelia and in Dawsonville, 55 degrees. In Gainesville, 57. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's nothing quite like a local neighbor. That's why AARP is local, right here in Midtown Atlanta, to offer you free events and enriching experiences that help you with finances, family, and fun. We're in the community, connecting you to what matters most right when you need it. Visit our website at aarp.org/GA or visit us on social media at AARP Georgia to find out more information on how we're helping your money, health, and happiness live as long as you do.
It doesn't matter if you're a homeowner or running a business. Waste happens. Your go-to to make it go away? Waste Eliminator. They offer collection, disposal, recycling, and environmental services for business and home cleanout. Visit wasteeliminator.com. Click Order Dumpster, and before you know it, your dumpster is reporting for duty. Yep, it's that easy. Environmentally responsible and committed to customer service. It's Waste Eliminator. See them today at wasteeliminator.com.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president,
and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
So that was the kind of final couple of minutes of the Marjorie Taylor Greene resignation. And look, I think that she is going to be doing other things. I don't know if she'll run for office again. She might. She might head up a think tank, but I think it's a lot more likely she's going to pop up on some, maybe be the next co-host for The View. I think they've got an opening or something like that because she could make a lot of money. And it's a pretty easy schedule. And if her children are getting married, she's starting to have grandchildren, she may, want a different life. This may not have turned out to be the life she wanted. Okay, and she went at it hard, that's for sure. Now, Jasmine Crockett, funnily enough, said basically if you can't stand falling out with the president for a week before you quit, you ought to live my life, which I think is kind of funny because she has a little bit of a point there. But I think I would also disagree that she hadn't been criticized since the moment she got into office. She kind of got crossways with people right from the beginning. And I don't mean with the people, her constituents. I did kind of I was a little uncomfortable the way she kept calling Americans common people. It just kind of the way it sounded, that bothered me a little bit. But honestly, this is going to be one of those things that are going to be forgotten until she lets people know what she wanted to do. Susan in Gainesville says, Martha, I agree with you. She's a quitter, and who would trust her in the future? And that was one of the problems. I've been a Nikki Haley supporter, okay? And when I was in Israel, a lot of the elected officials in Israel really would love to see Nikki Haley run again because they feel like she is the best friend to Israel that are in those political candidates. But in both of the jobs that she had, she left her governor's race a little bit early, her governor's second term of governor early, if I remember correctly, and then she left the UN position after a couple of years, didn't stay the full term. But that's not as unusual because you're appointed at the pleasure of the president. But there were a lot of people that didn't like Nikki Haley because she had left that governor's race. And it was unclear, and in fact, she did not win South Carolina. I think she had maybe pulled out by then, but still, she was a 2-term governor or 1.5-term governor of South Carolina, and she should have won that. So that could have been what was going on there with her, that because she had left her term in the middle. And I want to be consistent. I want to be consistent about this. You got to win me back if you quit, okay? You got to win me back. And maybe that doesn't matter to you. And I know that as we get older, we baby boomers have to understand we're in a transition, okay? And what I mean by that is 15 years ago, the baby boomer population of the vote was huge, okay? But as with all older populations, we've gotten smaller. Our portion of the vote now is about 20%, which is still big. But we can't carry elections the way we did 15 years ago. And obviously I wasn't a boomer 15 years ago, but there were a lot of boomers 15 years ago. And they were voting and they were giving money and they were doing all that kind of stuff. And now we have this other group coming behind. So I would point out to what John Hartley is saying, that we've got to do a better job of communicating the economic stuff and getting through the noise. So there's a new algorithm that has been put on X where you can see where the people are coming from that are responding to your posts. And what we're finding out is exactly what we thought, and that is that a whole lot of these people that are being presented as influencers are actually, are actually fake. Okay, so here's what they found out. There's a new version of Twitter, which is X. They unveiled a new feature that allows users to see what they're doing. And the Daily Beast is gloating that a lot of the top MAGA influencer accounts turn out to be from Eastern Europe, India, Nigeria, and elsewhere. That's true. But there's also a large number of accounts often recirculated by the president's supporters that are in fact foreign influencers who have been undermining trust in the United States. And then on the left, the anti-Trump accounts are coming from foreign nations also, and they have a pro-Palestinian bent to them. So you have to be very careful about social media. I use X a lot. I use it mainly for their audio cuts that they do, but I have found now that I go through them and make sure that they're real. Because there was just a cut that came through today that was obviously not real because it was Margaret Thatcher debating Keir Starmer, which couldn't have happened because, he was not old enough to have been a compatriot of hers. And so that was pretty obvious. But people that don't know their history would have looked at that and said, oh, yeah, Keir Starmer debated Margaret Thatcher. Well, that would have never happened. So you got to be really careful, especially if these videos look really clean, that maybe they're AI generated. And especially if there are a couple of people debating an issue, they might be AI generated. Okay, so what you got to look for is kind of the band that shows it's a news cut or something like that. And I guess you could steal that too, but I'm sure that the networks would sue if you started putting things out with their logo on it. I'm sure that the networks would sue with something like that. But what we really need is to be able to get rid of these fringe and evil beliefs because they've been led by a lot of foreigners that are masquerading as Americans. A lot of the anti-Semitic conversation and anti-Israel conversation is being mainstreamed by Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, and was started by a bunch of foreign social media accounts that make it look like they are in the United States. So the market has been created by this foreign effort and the domestic effort to water those seeds. And what I mean is people are looking for what they agree with. And then they assume if somebody agrees like they do that they must be on their team. There's a couple of things I look for in accounts that I might retweet or something like that. And I learned this the hard way. So if you go back to my retweeting history, you might find me retweeting stuff that was false. And then I learned, where it was coming from. And then I don't retweet that person anymore or re-X or repost or whatever they call it on X. One of the things that I look for is if you're not using your real name, and if I can't verify you through some other thing like LinkedIn or something like that. Now that could all be fake too, but you can only check as much as you can check. But basically, if someone's not willing to use their real name and I haven't heard of you before, right now I'm not gonna retweet you because I don't know what it is. There is a horrible thing that happened a couple of days ago in Manhattan that there were Jewish people trying to get into their synagogue. And, of course, all the synagogues have security now, and it's after dark now to go in for Shabbat because of the time change. And they were being blocked by pro-Hamas fanatics and being kept from going into their own synagogue to worship on the Sabbath. That just can't happen. I don't care if you're Christian, if you shouldn't be blocked. If you're Jewish, you shouldn't be blocked. If you're Muslim, you shouldn't be blocked. Now, I will say that this business of taking over whole public squares to do one of the 5 calls of prayer, that shouldn't be either. While I think you should be able to pray anywhere, if you're blocking traffic, that's not a cool thing to do. And it's starting to happen in small towns in Michigan and places like that where the Islamic population is getting very high. But it's a bad precedent to set that you block streets or anything. Whether you're protesting, whether you're praying, whatever you're doing, if you don't have a permit to block a street, keeping other people from getting to home, work, meetings, public events, whatever it is, it's just not cool, folks. You know, it's just like when Kasim Reed walked out during the Michael Brown protests and said, you can protest on the sidewalk, you can protest in the parks, you start blocking traffic and we're going to break you up. That's the way it ought to be. We'll take a break.
Everyone wants to live a rich life, especially in retirement. Join Rich Life advisor Bo Henderson for the Rich Life Retirement Show, where the math shows you the path. Sundays at 12:35 on WDUN.
It's Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. As our name suggests, we can handle all your tire needs, but some have asked what we mean when we say and more. At Oakwood Tire, we're more than just tires. We also handle general repair. We handle alignments, brakes, AC service, suspension work. Speaking of suspension work, if you're looking to upgrade your ride, we can put tires, wheels, lift kit, anything like that on there. See us at www.oakwoodtire.com. Stop by at 3120 Atlanta Highway, where we're more than just tires.
They say it's hard to find things that are built to last. That may be true for some things, but not for metal roofing from Dawsonville Metal. Metal roofing can last up to 50 years. Now that's quite an improvement from traditional asphalt shingles. But more than durable, metal roofing from Dawsonville Metal is also fire and impact resistant. Plus you get all the quality and durability for about the same cost as a shingled roof. Talk to Justin Odom at Dawsonville Metal Products at 706-265-3099 or log on to DawsonvilleMetal.com.
Magical Nights of Lights has returned to Lanier Islands Resort. Let your holiday spirit shine as you drive through 6 miles of dazzling lights where marching toy soldiers sparkle, Santa tailgates in style, and pickleball elves play. Visit holiday headquarters at Game Changer with Clark's Pop-Up Bar or delight in a festive buffet with the big guy himself at Breakfast with Santa. The magic, the memories, the lights you've been waiting for. Magical Nights of Lights at Lanier Islands Resort. Visit LanierIslands.com for reservations.
Has a lack of joy ever put you at your wit's end? Hi, this is Whit Martin, pastor of Asbury Chapel. Finding joy can be hard these days. Whether struggling with global events or experiencing our own personal battles, many are struggling with having real joy. But here's good news. This time of year, something important comes into focus, and that is the great celebration of God's gift of joy and life in Jesus Christ. A Savior is born to all of us, one who comes to deliver us from despair and give us joy. In every nativity scene and star upon a tree, there is a reminder that God has come in Jesus Christ to walk us through every trial. For many of you, I'm just a voice on the radio, but today I want to make you a promise. If you will trust in God's promise of joy that only comes in Jesus, you will have a peace in these days that surpasses your understanding, and that is wit's end. Come experience joy at Asbury Chapel or learn more at asburychapel.net.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, an Alto man taken into White County custody Thursday for allegedly having meth in his possession. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
You are a democratic socialist.
Yes.
Explain to us what that means for somebody who may not know or maybe even be afraid of that title.
Yeah, so to me, democratic socialism means the extension of democracy into all spheres of life. Right now, we're not really living in a democracy in the United States. We have fascists in the White House who are suppressing the vote. We're having voter rolls purged by our state government.
So, Logan, this is an Atlanta City Council member that was just elected.
Oh, it is. I do see that,
Atlanta City Council member.
Here in the Peach State, yep.
Yeah. I mean, so people, you got to be careful. Now, granted, you're going to see a lot more of this kind of, let's call it diversity. on city councils, especially in big cities, because I think what's the Atlanta City Council got like 1 million members. It's not 1 million, but it's like 15, 16, 18. I need to look it up and see what it is. It's big, their city council. It's not like us where we have 5, okay, and so we know where things are. But there's a pretty big number there. And they also have a president of the city council in addition to the mayor. And so it's a pretty big position there. So I thought that was interesting that even in the city of Atlanta, just down the road here, they've got a Democratic socialist that was elected in this last election. Now, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan election, but clearly she's owning up to what her party is. So it'll be interesting to see that right here in our community. And look, every 20 or 30 or 50 years, we have to debate socialism so that people will understand kind of what it is. But what I would also say to you is just give me an example of socialism that has worked. Okay? Give me an example of socialism that has worked. Now, some of you are going to point to some of these Western European countries that are democratic socialists, but where they have a lot of services that they provide, but they still have elections, that kind of thing. And I would argue with you that many of them are in decline. Many of these countries are in decline. So we'll see what happens here, but I think we got to have this debate every so often. And didn't our founders predict that? Freedom will have to be defended every generation. I know I'm paraphrasing, but it's true. So Todd Buford said, Green just plain quit on you folks, Republicans, and increased in wealth by 35 times in 5 years. I don't know if that's correct or not, Todd, but I'm going to read it from your text. Paints the same picture as that hair color. As an independent, she'd never get my support in any role because of the things she kept stepping in right up to now. I'm expecting a book to follow soon. I'll never buy it, and a media tour of blah, blah, blah. No one will press her hard for specifics. She saw in office and how to invest money and to beat the market 100-fold. So quitting so close to the election time and putting Republicans in jeopardy, not to mention our state. Lady, you should have stayed till the last minute exposing everything to educate voters that participate. What a blanking loser. It really, seriously. I mean, Logan's not even that political. And he understands. I'm not picking on you, Logan.
No, go right ahead.
But he understands that all she had to do to avoid a primary is not run for re-election and just finish her term.
Yeah, I mean, but for one reason or another, she's deciding to bow out early, and we'll see what she does, I guess, in the time to fill that gap there.
And she is given a long notice. I mean,
she
it's
is,
kind of
yes.
a long notice. It's like 6-week notice. It's like a government shutdown notice.
That is, yes.
So she's given a long notice, which is kind of funny. Look, and I've had situations happen with people like when Johnny Isakson ran for re-election in 2016. He knew that he had Parkinson's disease when he ran for re-election. And a lot of people questioned whether he should or shouldn't, but he still felt fine. He felt like he could finish the 6-year term, but he was unable to. He had to leave, and we went through a special election and, an appointment, and then a special election related to the Senate seat. So it happens where things come up and you have to leave office, maybe that you didn't know about or couldn't know about. And then you have this guy like Fetterman, okay, where he had a stroke. He was hospitalized for depression. Nobody blame him if he came up in the middle, goes, you know what, I got such serious health problems. I'm not going to finish this term, and we'll see what happens. But, man, he's fighting. He's in fighting terms. He's taking a look at it. You know, he's laughing and encouraging people to primary him. I just love that about him. I probably disagree with him on 80% of his policies. But again, he, like Zoran Mamdani and other Democrats, Gretchen Whitmer, even though she covered her face. You remember that, Logan? She covered her face.
Oh,
when they
yes.
Came and did the picture. That was
I
so
do remember
funny.
that.
I mean, really, that was ridiculous. I don't know what she was thinking. She wasn't thinking.
Trying to hide, I guess. I don't know. Didn't work out for her, though.
Yeah, so you've got these people that are willing to go and work with the president. Even Gavin Newsom. Here's the one thing I will say that I agree with on Marjorie Taylor Greene. We got to stop all this stupidness. Work with the people you're going to work with. And there's 3 things I would do to get us back on track. I would start working with people whoever wanted to have a meeting. Okay, you're going to end up meeting with more people that agree with you than disagree. But if you meet with some that disagree, you're going to make progress. We got to repeal Graham-Rudman, and we got to get back to the old way we used to do budgets, where if we got to the end of the budget term, the assumption was made you're going to come to a deal. So the government was automatically funded at current levels until you came up with a deal. That's the way we did it up until Graham-Rudman, and it worked, and we never had government shutdowns, and we certainly didn't have government shutdowns that were used as a political tool. Because anytime you give these people political tools, or I should say political weapons, they will use them. They will use them. So you got to do that. That's number 2. And then number 3, we got to get the budget back on regular order. Because, and I think, and I know Andrew Clyde is listening, so he'll tell me if I'm wrong or not, because he's on the budget committee. We got 3 bills through in this CR that we just approved. There's 5 more that are pretty much ready. And that if we can, that's 8. If we can get the other 4 done before January 31st, then this whole government shutdown is a moot point. Because we will have gotten the appropriations bills passed, even though they were passed late. And then we can get back into regular order for next year. I know, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you have heard me put this scenario out at least 10 times in the last 20 years because we have had the opportunity to put these things out and then get back on regular order, but then nobody will do it. They have to do it. Folks, I'm going to say to all these members of Congress, to the House and to the Senate, stop looking in the mirror and seeing your next job and do the job you're in to the best of your ability. We'll be back.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. You'll find exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 50% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Work up an appetite and help the Cops and Kids Christmas program. Be part of the Cops and Gobblers 5K and Fun Run. It starts in front of our studios in downtown Gainesville Thanksgiving morning. Register today at copsandgobblers5k.com. Brought to you by Hasty Pope and North Georgia's News Talk.
Happy Thanksgiving.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. China's President Xi speaking of President Trump today, saying he wants Taiwan back under his control, that from Chinese state media. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Ukrainian officials in Switzerland to try and jumpstart the peace process with Russia.
Now there appears to be a shift in tone. Secretary of State Marco Rubio calling it the most productive engagement they've had on the issue yet. And President Trump saying on Truth Social as well, is it really possible that big progress is being made in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine? Don't believe it until you see it. it, but something good just may be happening.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. Rubio expected to meet with President Trump later today. The man who pitched the ShamWow on TV wants a new job.
He's now running for Congress in Austin, Texas. His name is Vince Offer, and he tells Fox News Digital he was inspired by the late Charlie Kirk to run for office.
That's Fox's Eben Brown. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
WDUN. From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. As the search for a Gainesville native who went missing on Blood Mountain nearly 2 weeks ago continues, search teams are modifying their methods. More from WDUN's Caleb Hutchins.
The Union County Sheriff's Office says ground search teams have been scaled back in favor of specialized canine teams to track clues. 67-year-old Charles Hush was last seen hiking the Byron Herbert Reese Trail on November 11th. His daughter, Julia Hush, added Saturday morning that law enforcement's efforts were being briefly paused by expected rain in the area. Volunteer search teams were still working to find her father.
A pair of Georgia-based community banking institutions announcing plans to merge as Elberton-based Pinnacle Bank and officials with Dublin-based Morris Bank announced a strategic combination of both corporations on Thursday. The combined company would have $3.8 billion in assets, $3.3 billion in deposits, and $2.8 billion in loans, which it merges and operates a combined 35 branches that include Pinnacle's current locations in Gainesville, Athens, and Augusta. And today marks the final day for dropping off donations at the Gainesville's Lakewood Baptist Church as they continue the Samaritan's Purse Foundation's annual Operation Christmas Child program. The donations can be made between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the 2235 Thompson Bridge Road location. Information and links on how to donate, shoebox of items, and more news found at Access WDUN. Now, here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Partly cloudy skies this morning. More mostly cloudy into the afternoon. Upper 60s for highs. Considerable cloud cover with on and off rain showers later tonight, mid 50s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Winder and in Commerce, 56 degrees. In Gainesville, 55. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Now a message from your Hall County Tax Commissioner, Darla Eden.
2025 property tax statements were mailed on November 20th and are due by January 23rd. We know life gets busy, so we've made paying faster, easier, and more secure. Just go to hallcountytax.org to look up your bill and pay online. New this year, a redesigned tax bill that makes the new legislation and tax savings very easy to understand.
Service, efficiency, accountability. Your Hall County Tax Commissioner.
This is Terrell with the Spa on Green Street. Tara, every year someone asks me what to get the person who has everything.
Easy, Terrell. It's a gift card from the Spa on Green Street.
Exactly. A massage, a facial, or even a full spa day. Our journeys are amazing. They can choose whatever fills their cup.
Beautifully packaged. Simply come into the spa and get your gift card or order online at spaongreenstreet.com.
Where giving the gift of wellness is always in season.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
All people owe their lives to the surrounding society, and that they cannot simply demolish it because it is unjust, because everything human has always been unjust. My tendency is to want more freedom for the individual. I don't want people making decisions who don't pay the price of their decisions. And that's what politics is all about. You don't pay the price of the decision. One of the reasons we had a Jim Crow era in this country was because the politicians didn't pay the price of that. That was enormously costly to the white as well as the black population. But the politicians who put that in didn't pay any cost for that. They drew their full salary irrespective of all that. And I want someone who discriminates to have to lose money discriminating, because people tend to back off when they start losing big money. And I think people in the civil rights area have missed a bet by not trying to promote more free markets, because that makes discrimination the most costly it can be.
That's Thomas Sowell. It is the Martha Zoller Show. Logan, I just love that, because he says, you know, that humans are always going to be unfair. That's why you have to try to be fair. And that if you still get paid and you don't pay anything for the decisions that you make, then you're going to keep making the wrong decisions.
No, I think he summed it up nicely in that statement there.
And that was probably 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can tell just from the video of it. It is an older video part from the 80s, if I had to guess.
So Thomas Sowell is one of those guys that I got to interview a number of times over the years. He's in his 90s now and does not do interviews much anymore. I don't think he has done any in a while. Gloria Carlock, is that not a great name, was his booker, his press person. And she'd always reach out to me when he had a book out or whatever, and she was just amazing. One of those old school PR people, kind of like Esther Levine in Atlanta. Just the kind of, these are all inside baseball names, but just like really people that knew their business and knew how to get people out and to be seen and heard, which was really fantastic. So, look, it is a very interesting time that we're in, but everything old is new again. There are no new ideas about economies. We've got several issues going on. You know how I like to do things in three things, okay? So we've got the issue of affordability, which is the new buzzword, but it just means that things cost more. And that is intertwined with this issue of middle class low incomes, middle income, low incomes. And what I mean by that is the middle incomes have their amounts of money have not gone up, their salaries have not gone up as much. And we have this crazy thing going on where I do admit it was great when I got out of college because employers were so hungry for people that they were so willing to give you a chance if you just had a good interview. Now, the problem with today's world is getting that interview, that in-person interview. We have this crazy way we do interviews now. And they have all these entry-level jobs. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Logan, but entry-level jobs that require 5 years of experience. Have you seen that?
I have seen that.
Repeatedly.
Right. First off, let's just say entry-level, but you need 5 years of experience. How is it entry?
How is that entry-level?
Yeah, I've seen that many, many times.
And so my son-in-law, I'm very aware of this because, so my oldest son is what's called a DMA in oboe performance. I know. I can't believe he even has a job. But while he was doing his DMA, which is a PhD in oboe performance, he was doing all these online certifications for Microsoft and Apple and all this kind of stuff because really what he was learning how to do, they weren't teaching in school because he was creating stuff. And he's always been on the cutting edge of online security. I remember taking him to a meeting in New York that turned out to be like a hackers meeting. Well, I figured there were probably people watching us after that meeting, but it was basically a hackers convention because people were hacking into stuff. And internet was new. This was 25 years ago. I can't believe it was 25 years ago. He also put in the computers at the new courthouse, which is now the old courthouse. He was doing all that sort of thing way ahead. So he got hired out of college without a degree in computer engineering because he was so far ahead of what they were teaching in school that he was the next level. He could have been teaching the classes, and he's still that way. 25 years later, he's a lifelong learner. The company that he was with just got bought up by IBM, which again is an amazing story what IBM's done. From being like a adding machine company in its beginning days to becoming the mainframe computer company, and then to becoming, reinventing themselves again for today's market. And so he's usually hated working for big companies. He worked for Dell for a while, but he's really enjoying this transition to IBM. So that was his background. My son, Mark, was a mechanical engineer that loved the energy side of it, the efficiency side of it, any of that kind of stuff. And so he's working as a project manager, as a mechanical engineer for a company called Paladin, and he's a partner. And he's had 5 jobs leading up to that. My son Ricky has worked mostly in the research realm. Okay, so he worked for the University of Georgia. He's worked for USDA. He's worked for a professor that was in that whole research side. but he's in that world, and he's had, I think, 3 jobs since he's been out of college, something like that. My daughter's had a lot of jobs because she was an actress for the first 7 years of her career, so she did a lot of gig work where she waited tables or taught or nannied or taught dance classes and that kind of thing. And she, for the last 5 years, 6 years, has worked for Peachtree Presbyterian planning weddings and teaching dance when she decided she was just tired of auditioning and getting rejected, even though she supported herself for 7 years. And she's just now getting back into the audition world for live shows. So I'm hoping that she'll do more of that. But she's had a number of jobs. But my son-in-law was a biotech guy who did things like protect people from protect the transportation of the Ebola virus. He protected big semi trucks full of poisons to make sure that they were transported correctly. He did all that sort of thing. He protected the water in DeKalb County up until a couple of years ago. And he was good at it, but he didn't love it. And so at 32 years old, he went back to school and did a computer science degree and he'll be computer engineering degree that he'll be graduating in on December 14th. It took him a lot longer to work and go to school. And for the last 6 or 8 months, he's just been going to school because the projects have been big and all of that sort of thing. So he needs to get a job, and it's really hard to get a job right now. And if you know anybody in the computer engineering world, just call me after the show, and I would love to talk to you. But there's a lot of things, a lot of things that are going to happen related to this. But it's hard to find work right now because they expect you. I mean, he has 10 years of work experience, just not in the field it's in. I would have jumped at somebody like Ryan if in my days of hiring people. He had a proven track record of being successful in the jobs he had done. And yes, he's decided to change and do something else, but that doesn't negate the 10 years of increasingly responsible experience that he had that tells me he can keep a job, he knows how to get along with people, all of that sort of thing. So I just want us to get back to the more personal phase. I mean, I bet we'd still do it the personal way here. I bet Logan walked in and applied for a job, right? I mean, that's how you got your job here?
Actually, no. I applied online, and I got a immediate response pretty much from Bill Maine. I came up here, drove about 45 minutes, stayed with some buddies of mine out in Habersham. I came here the next day, talked with Bill and our news director at the time, and I was on the way home. Once I had gotten home, Martha, it was the next day at this point, I was typing up a follow-up email just saying, hey, thank you for the opportunity. Exactly. I was typing that up. I believe when I got a call from Bill at that time saying, hey, we're going to bring you on. When can you start? And from then it was, all right, let me first off just get rid of that and let me start looking for houses up here. And that's what I did.
The great thing about small businesses,
it is,
right? I was at the assisted living place where my father-in-law lives, and it's a group. I mean, it's I don't know how many properties they have. I know they have 3 in this pod, that are run by the same person, but I think they have maybe more than that, 5, 6, 7, maybe 20. And so this woman came in and said, I have this kind of skill. I'd like to work here. Could I fill out an application? Oh, here's a card with the online, so you can fill out an application online. That's just the way it is. And I understand you have to have that to some degree, but if you take the human element out of it, this is why we're having trouble getting people hired. Okay, so we're going to keep working on all of this. So anyway, I will put out a blanket thing. If any of you are hire computer engineers that work on hardware, give me a call. Anyway, Susan Kay said, I remember meeting your son when he was doing an internship with Jerry Bean many years ago. Yes, that was many years ago. Jerry Bean was like the quintessential computer guy. And if you were getting computers put in your house, because it was a lot of work to get a computer put in your house back then. You had to run wires, you had to plug it in. There was no wireless at this point in time. Wireless was a game changer. But he came in and would put the computer in our house, and then he would upgrade it when necessary. I remember when he was putting the 256, whatever it was, speed in. He says, you'll never need more memory than this. This is more memory than you'll ever need. And, of course, he was wrong about that. But he learned the computer stuff the hard way. I mean, he started out working on copiers, as all people that ended up in computer tech did. They started out working on copiers, and then they said, this computer thing is about to happen. Maybe I could learn about this. So it was great. Jerry Bean, God, just love that guy. Love that guy. We'll take a break.
It's the news that affects you and the talk that keeps you listening.
We'll continue on with additional discussions today as we stay engaged.
North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
During this Thanksgiving season, I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you what I'm grateful for. This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney. And in addition to God and my family, I'm thankful for the opportunity to minister to my parents, which helped me better serve my clients. I'm grateful for my client, and I'm thankful for our loyal listeners to Truth in Planning. Happy Thanksgiving. And if I can talk to you about your needs, please log on to KevinTharp.com.
Christmas is a season of giving. This is Mike Cormier, General Manager of Hardy Chevrolet. I know that giving is a challenge this year. That is why it's more important than ever. Hardy Chevrolet is a drop-off location for the Marine Corps Reserve's Toys for Tots program. Please come by and drop off a new unwrapped toy. With the help of local community agencies and churches, Marines will distribute them to needy children throughout our area. Help make this a Merry Christmas for all. And I'd like to extend best wishes of the season from all of us at Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Ridge Road in Gainesville.
Hello, Gainesville. This is Carol with the Spa on Green Street. The holidays are quickly approaching, and we are ready for you to come in and shop in our boutique at the Spa on Green Street. We've even put together some special baskets that you can just pick up and go. So don't forget about the Spa on Green Street for your holiday needs. Who in the world at this place and time doesn't need to melt the stress away? So come see us at the spa or order your gift cards online at spaongreenstreet.com.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over disagreements? Hi, this is Pastor Whit Martin from Asbury Chapel. Disagreements lead to all sorts of hurt. That makes finding common ground hard. But what if the basis of our friendships and interactions were built upon something everlasting? There is a unity that can be experienced if it's built upon something sure. Jesus prays in John 17 that his followers would be one with him first, then there would be unity with each other. If we have a vertical relationship with God, then all our horizontal relationships will pan out as they should. I want to encourage you to have a relationship with God today, because only from there will we find real peace. And with real peace, we are more agreeable, loving others, and enriching every relationship we have. And that is Wit's End. Come experience real peace with God through Asbury Chapel or learn more at asburychapel.net.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a pair of Georgia-based community banking institutions are announcing their plans to merge this year. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Well, everybody should be thinking about the players. Everybody should be thinking about the student athletes. What's best for the student athletes? Players should be able to play for his coach for the entire season. Players shouldn't be penalized if a coach leaves, because the committee has the opportunity, if a player or coach doesn't participate, they can sink you in the rankings. So Ole Miss could go down in the rankings, maybe lose a home game. So their players are getting penalized. But we need to take a better approach to the business aspect of what we do in college athletics. In the NFL, you cannot leave your team until you're finished playing. You can't talk to another coach in the regular season. There's a defined time when you can talk to them if they're in the playoffs. That's the way it should be. And we should match the academic calendar with the football calendar, and we shouldn't have an early signing date that conflicts with people wanting to hire an early coach. A portal situation where you got to hire an early coach, fire your coach early. None of this is fair to the players. So if we did all that in May and then had some kind of OTA days or something in the summertime instead of spring practice, we wouldn't have all these issues and players could actually finish the year. So this is not a Lane Kiffin conundrum. This is a college football conundrum that we need some leadership to step up and change the rules on how this gets done in terms of coaching searches and opportunities for people to leave. Players can leave. So if you went to the Ole Miss players, they would say, I want my coach to coach till the season's over. Yeah. We got a chance to go to the playoffs. When's the next time we're going to have a chance to go to the playoffs? So that's the way it should be, regardless of what Lane decides to do.
So that's Nick Saban. And look, it's really colored, I think, by what his experience was in the NFL and now his concerns about what is happening in college. But he's absolutely right. You shouldn't be able to be negotiating about leaving during the season. And they ought to have some parameters around it like they do in the NFL. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Danny in Flowery Branch. Hey, Danny, how you doing?
Hello, Martha. Good morning. Enjoying your show today.
Thank you.
I just had a comment about IT jobs.
Yes.
Back in 1993, I was working for a large IT company, and the area or product and services that I worked in was sold to another company, and myself, along with several other people, went with that new company. Didn't have a choice, obviously, and back in I can't remember the exact year, but a couple of guys that I worked with, very good. They knew Microsoft, Unix. They knew computers inside and out. They were laid off, and they went to work at the original company we worked for. Both of them worked there for a few months, and then that company laid them off. The company that they worked for that did the buying out contacted them. No, they didn't get laid off. The company that did the buying out contacted them and asked them to come back. So they did. And after maybe 8 months to a year, they laid them both off again after they left a good job they liked. And that's been 2.5 years ago. They're still looking for a job. And I retired about 1.5 years ago, and before I retired, we posted a job in IT on one of the big job sites, and we had 6,000 resumes posted.
Wow.
I quit looking at it. There was so many, and it was for one position. I mean, IT is a good career. If you can get in it, you probably need to stay in as long as you can, because if you change jobs, you may not get another one.
Yeah,
there's so many in IT now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's different kind of like my son works in the cloud security side of it, so it's kind of in the software side of it. My son-in-law is more in the hardware side of it, which those jobs are not as easy to get, but it's what he loves doing. But, look, he's a good man, and he is a good supporter of his family, and he's given himself a time limit that if he doesn't find the job he wants by the end of the first quarter, then he's going to take any job he can get, and he'll be fine. I mean, he's a hard worker. He knows how to work. Ultimately, he'll be fine, but the stress level is high,
Yeah. They've been out of a job for 2.5 years, and I've spoken to one of them several times, and every time he responds to a job application online, it's a bot. They want his information, they get it, and they're gone. They're history.
Well, and then what I hate about that is, and Danny, thanks for your call, is they will say, don't call and follow up. To me, that just makes no sense. I am an employer. I hire people. I've had jobs where I've had as many as 60 employees. Now, the company that we run in correctional nursing, we have about 20 employees. And, I want to be able to call I like the person that calls me and shows, because you wouldn't believe the number of people, Logan, that they ask for a job application, they fill out the job application, they send it in, and then when you try to follow back up with them, you just get crickets. You don't get, I'm not interested, thank you very much, but crickets.
Just nothing. And that also always kind of I scratch my head at that, 'cause it's like, well, if you take the time to send in your application or go in person especially, but for one reason or another you don't end up making good on, first off, if they call you back, you're already one step ahead than a lot of people.
Right.
Letting you know that, hey, we're going to offer you or not offer you this job. And, I think that people they go with this maybe a mentality of apply to so many places and see if one bites, that, that's what we're seeing a lot of, just because people are having issues getting jobs. And like I said, it's just kind of a cycle of, you apply online, you see if you hear anything. If you do, great. If not, then, you're not surprised. And you just keep on moving until hopefully someone calls you back.
I just got to believe that as much as I love how technology connects us, okay? I love it. I love being able to talk to you guys. I love being on the podcast, the live broadcast that we do. I love the podcast that we do. I love interacting on social media. All of that I love doing. But I think we cannot lose sight, and we for a while have lost sight with the human interaction of how you develop relationships and how you build a team that you work with based on building those relationships, okay? And I think that we've got to work a little harder on that. And I think we'll get back to it. I just to kind of wrap up and bring back what we talked about at the beginning, I think this kind of John Fetterman being this guy that will talk to everybody, and Marjorie Taylor Greene saying she wants to change the tone, this may be the beginning of things changing. And even how President Trump was with Mamdani, we may be starting something here. I'll be back tomorrow. We're always